we had great visionary scientists like Dr. Sarabhai, Homi Bhabha, who were looking at how this new technological capability of putting an object in space can make a difference to the lives and the growth of the country. And what Dr. Sarabhai had realized is going to space can make a difference simply because Arthur Clarke had already shown that if you can put a satellite at the height of 36,000 kilometers, why 36,000 kilometers? Because you are familiar that every object which is orbiting Earth, depending on its altitude, takes some finite time to complete the orbit. For example, Moon takes a month to go around Earth, but Moon is at a distance of 384,000 kilometers when it is closest. The near Earth orbits, the objects take between 90 to 100 minutes. That means between closer to Earth to 380,000 kilometers, there must be one place where if you put a satellite, it will take exactly 24 hours to go around Earth. Now what has this 24 hours got to do? Because Earth takes that much time to rotate about its own axis, and if you can put another object going around Earth taking exactly same time, you will end up with a relative velocity which is zero. Many times when you are traveling in trains, an adjacent train traveling at the same speed appears to be stationary to you. Same way, this 36,000 kilometer altitude, if you put a satellite in equatorial orbit, that satellite looks stationary to an observer on Earth. And why it will be useful? When you want to see farther and farther, what do? You climb to higher and higher points. You go on top of a tree, mountain, or a high tower. So same way, if you go to the height of 36,000 kilometers, not only 1/3 of the Earth is visible, it is visible continuously. So you can do what is called line of sight communication. That means you are able to see each other and do communication. So Dr. Sarabhai was aware that if a satellite is put at this altitude, it can help us do communication. So what was done? He convinced Americans that one of the most advanced technology satellites they were building at that time, he asked them, why don't you lend this satellite to us for 1 year? We will use it and demonstrate in our country how we can bring in communication and broadcasting revolution. So Americans who were building a new technology satellite at that time, that satellite had a life of only 2 years. But in spite of that, they were ready to give for 1 year it to us because they realized that it will serve as a great demonstrator of a capability of a satellite up in orbit. And what happened in 1975, exactly 50 years ago, India conducted the world's largest socio-technological experiment. It is called SITE, Satellite Instructional Television Experiment. What was done in that is, you can imagine in the 70s, etc., India was struggling to provide its citizens various capabilities. And if you had to reach out to everybody and inform everybody of what is happening, we were about 36 crore people at that point. How to reach information to everybody was the challenge. So what Dr. Sarabhai finally could do was, today you are familiar with a small 1/4 meter antenna on your rooftop and a set-top box on the table, you can see broadcasting on your television. This is called direct-to-home television. 50 years back, India demonstrated to the world this concept in what is called as direct-to-community system, satellite instructional television experiment. By borrowing an advanced satellite from America, and in 2,400 villages in our country, 6 remote states, in those places, ISRO set up half a rack height of electronics equipment called the front-end hardware with a 10-foot diameter antenna. Today it's a 1/4 meter, just 250 millimeters. That time it was 10 foot. With that antenna on the ground and a huge rack of electronics front-end hardware, and all this was realized in the country, black and white television of ECIL and all these electronics built in India. ISRO demonstrated to the government that you can reach out to large part of India if you can make use of this technology. So for 1 year, this experiment was conducted, and it was considered as the world's largest socio-technological experiment, a technological experiment which demonstrated how communication can be brought into reality in developing countries. In fact, for that particular program, world recognized India and gave an award for that experiment also. But that apart, Dr. Sarabhai's ability to convince Americans that we can make use of this technology in a better way. At that time, there was also competition. India was competing with Brazil, but India could convince Americans that between Brazil and India, if you give this satellite to India, they'll make better use of it, because Sarabhai had also made sure that the experiments preparing for use of this satellite for 1 year was done much earlier. And with Krishi Darshan program in Delhi's TV, it was trying to show how the program can be brought to the people.